Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started tonight. I'm hoping or thinking that we'll probably be about 30 minutes or so. If we do have a lot of questions at the end, which I encourage folks to share those when the time comes, I'll stay on as long as we need to. But my hope is to get through some information in about 15 to 20 minutes or so, and then kind of open things up. Just so you all know, we are recording, and so if there are folks that for whatever reason they couldn't make it on tonight, we will be posting to the district YouTube for access. So just a heads up that we are recording, and we will be pushing that out as well. A couple other pieces of info before we kind of get started. If at any point you do have a question, and maybe you aren't fully confident in unmuting and wanting to bring the question verbally, that's fine. If you want to go ahead and put it in the chat bar, I'll probably wait until the very end to kind of tackle those. But if you feel like that there's something that you might forget, or you feel like you want to go ahead and put that in the chat bar at any time, is fine. I will get to those, and I do want to try to address every question that we have tonight. Although with that being said, and I shared this with our staff yesterday, that if for some reason there's a question that comes up tonight that I don't feel like I have an answer for, or I don't feel like that I have a good answer for, I will make sure that we take that down, and either as a staff and a building reopening team, we will try to address it and push that info out, and or I will take it to the district office to get addressed as well. I think right now, with the amount of information going out, I think we need to be really careful about sharing things that might not be completely 100% accurate, and or that we maybe not have an answer for yet. And so if there is something, again, that comes up tonight that I feel like has not been addressed, or I don't have an answer for, I will not do what we call freestyling. I will not make up an answer for tonight. I will thank you for that question, and we will push it off either to tomorrow or to whenever I feel like I have addressed that. So with that being said, again, my plan is to go through the email, or I should say the Parent Square message that was sent out on Friday evening. Again, with that, I know that there's been a lot of information that has been sent out over the course of the last week, and I do want to apologize for the overload. But with that, I think it's important for each of the families to hear that the reason why we kind of push things back at Silvercrest is I feel like to make a good decision for your family and or your student on what learning model you want to move forward with, I think it's really important to get out as much information as we can, and to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to ask questions about what both of those plans look like before you're in a position to make a decision. So that was kind of the goal with waiting to have our survey and or calls made. So that's why the email on Friday night went out with a lot of information, and then it outlined obviously tonight's call to give you all a chance to come and ask questions or share concerns, and then hopefully we will be able to get a good answer from each family over the course of the next couple days. I'll bring this up towards the end, but our goal is to have that information back by the end of workday tomorrow. And again, I'll explain that a little bit more. But the reason why we want to try to have it back as soon as we can is we would like to get our list of students that are needing transportation. We want to get that list to our transportation department as soon as we can, so we can begin to build those routes. So a little bit more on that in terms of what the follow-up is for this call. But at this point right now, I'm going to go ahead and start to go through the information that was in the letter that I sent out on Friday night. So the first thing that I think is really important to address, and I'm sure there will be questions about this, with the district needs not fully understood as far as where all of our parents are going to go with their kids in terms of an online continued option or a hybrid in-person option, we are not exactly sure as a district how many teachers are going to be needed for each option. So I'll kind of say that again in another way. If we have 50% of our students say that they would like to remain in a comprehensive distance plan, the district needs to find a way to staff that. And so that could impact potentially teachers at Silvercrest, but we would say potentially teachers across the district. Also the flip side, if we had 90% of our students that said they wanted to remain in a distance plan, we would have to move a lot of our hybrid teachers into a distance plan or back into a distance plan to help support that. So the reason the information on the front end is so important to get back what our students' plan is so we can accurately staff for that want and need. So that's probably the biggest piece of information in this whole deal that I think is important for you all to hear is, depending on which option you choose, either to send them back into a hybrid format or to remain in a distance plan, either option could result in a change in teacher. And that has nothing to do specifically with Silvercrest or our staff. That will be based on need across the district. So in some of those cases, we may not be able to control that at all. I think I can speak for our staff and say that at Silvercrest specifically, I think most, if not all of our teachers are prepared to return when we go back to hybrid. So again, even though I think I can safely say that I think that most of our teachers are set to do that. If the district outlines a need that we need to adjust staffing to meet the needs of our community, then that decision may be made for us. Does anybody want to maybe try to address that question or have a follow-up question to that, or any of our staff that are on might want to chime in and give some thought there? Okay, so just to reiterate again, there's no correlation at this time to changing a teacher or that there will be a necessity to change a teacher based on either plan that you choose. The only way that you would necessarily have to change a teacher is if the district need was so great in either one of those formats that we had to move folks. Again, I feel like that a majority of our teachers at Silvercrest, if not all of them, will be back in a hybrid format, but I can't say at this time with 100% accuracy that every student at Silvercrest that chooses either plan will have the same teacher that they currently have. Okay. So that's kind of the big one there. I think the next part that I would like to go over is just to kind of try to help outline and kind of highlight the most important points of our hybrid plan at this time. So I'm sure most of you are fully aware that in the fall, the initial plan was to say, break the alphabet down in half and say A through K, we're going to go in cohort A, and then The other half of the alphabet was going to go on the cohort B days. With our class sizes and where our last names fall, that was not going to create two equal cohorts at Silvercrest. So at this time, what we have done is we have basically divided each class in half. And so it's not so much based on a letter in the alphabet as to where that break is, but it's more about what is half of each class. And so we have gone through and basically created half of the class for cohort A, which at this time is said to be Tuesday, Thursdays in person. And then the other half of the class is set to come to campus Wednesday and Friday. We've specifically not sent that list out yet because we just kind of want to give pieces of the plan at each time. And so right now, what we're asking you to kind of think about is yes, there will be two groups of students, and those students will come to school either Tuesday and Thursday or Wednesday and Friday. Mondays will look the same for all students, and that will continue to be basically on our distance learning format to where there will not be live meets on those days. And then also the two opposite days a week that your student would not be coming to campus would also look the same. So for example, you are going to have half of each class come to school on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they would be in something that looks similar to what they are doing now. Our teachers would be pushing out information for those off days that would be they would be teacher guided in terms of those learning opportunities would obviously come from the classroom and from the teacher, but they would be self-directed in terms that we would not have live meets for your students on those off days. Mrs. Traver asked, and we will get to this as well, but yes, she asked if we choose to go to hybrid and we need busing services, will that be provided by the district? And the answer is yes. So again, to kind of get back to the format a bit, the hybrid format says that your student would be on campus for 2 full days a week, and they would be remotely or at home for the other 3 days per week. Those 2 days that they are at school would be considered a full school day. And in the letter that I sent out on Friday night, I said 8 to 3. And the reason why I said 8 to 3 is because we haven't completely decided with how that morning piece will work. In years past, there's been opportunities for students to come to the campus up to 30 minutes before our actual class meetings begin, and whether that's have time in the gym or time on the playground or time in the library, that I don't want to say for sure 100% will not be an option, but that will look far different than what it's been in the past. And so at this time, I'm saying that our school day will most likely begin at 8:30. But what time we're opening campus and allowing kids to come has not been. We have not set a specific time on that yet. Okay, so again, your full 2 days that your student would potentially be on campus would be for a full day, and that class schedule would be 8:30 to 3, and then we will be sending out more information of what that 8 to 8:30 timeframe looks like. Okay. Any questions in terms of just the breakdown of what the days are, not specifically what a school day looks like yet, but the idea of 2 in-person days versus 3 days remote? And while folks are thinking that, we just got another question, so I'm going to pop that up. Mr. Darris, if we have more than one child going in different grade levels, will you try to have them both go on the same days? Absolutely. So at this time, we are looking at all of our grade bands, but specifically our K4s will be the first group to go. And so that is another piece to the puzzle of how we broke our classes up. If there are siblings and for say the kinder class and the break was at letter M in the alphabet and they have a sibling in the 3rd or 4th grade, we might have to be off by a student or two just to make sure that those students in the same household are on the same days. So yes, if you have multiple students, your in-person days would be the same. And again, that's one of the reasons why I specifically, in the beginning talked about that we couldn't just go a letter in the alphabet because there's kind of some more pieces to the puzzle there. Okay. Any other questions in terms of days of the week that your student may be at school versus not at school? Mrs. Teagan, why can't the kids go to school Monday, Tuesday with the teacher prep day on Wednesday and the second group go Thursday, Friday? That could work as a district. However, back in August, it was decided that our teacher prep days or those days would be on Monday, and that our format, if and when we ever got back to hybrid, would be a Tuesday, Thursday, and or a Wednesday, Friday. So there are definitely other districts throughout the region, throughout the state, that have chosen to have that off day or prep day or break day on different days. How are we going to reasonably expect 6-year-olds to wear masks all day long, not interact with other kids, and how is the enforcement of that going, or what is the enforcement of that going to look like? So that was kind of the next piece of what I was going to go into, is kind of what it would look like for the kids to come to campus. And I appreciate the question of course for kids to keep a mask on for 30 minutes straight, I think will be tough. What I can tell you is that we will in each classroom have an area that is designated for a mask break, and with that we could also, if supervised, so whether that's a teacher's aide or something like that, we could also offer the kids a chance to step out of the classroom. So as far as masks specifically, I don't think there's anybody at the school right now that realistically believes that a 6-year-old is going to keep a mask on for 6 hours straight. We will build in break times for them to be able to remove that in a safe way, whether that's a distance and outside or whether that's distance in the classroom. There will be a process for that. As far as not interacting with other kids, again, I think we do have to wrap our minds around that the school day is going to look different. However, I can tell you from what I've witnessed with our limited in-person kids that there will be interactions. The interactions will just look something different. So there's obviously been times in the past to where we might have a group of 6 students in a reading group or in a math group and have a rotation. That group will obviously not operate the same, and I could see, a classroom now is going to be half as large, so we have a little bit better opportunity to manage those classes when they're half as large. So I could see a class of 6 or 8 instead of having a rotation group of 6. Maybe that rotation group is 2 or 3, and we can do that spaced out and safely. So I think that interactions will definitely look different, but I would also say that part of getting our kids back together is having those interactions is a huge plus. Next question: with smaller class sizes and total student body, what is holding kids back from going 5 days when other school districts are doing that? So this was discussed at the district level as a whole. And I can tell you, I think that, hi there. I think that the concern was there is, although Silvercrest might be able to do that in a couple of our classes, we couldn't do that across the board at Silvercrest. So some of our students' classes wouldn't be able to do that. And then even larger than that, there might be some schools in the district that could do that, but not all of the schools could do that. What will in-person instruction look like besides masks and social distancing? And I spoke to that just a little bit in terms of our youngsters. I don't anticipate our rotations to look exactly the same as they have in the past. I think that you are going to see those groups not only smaller, but they'll interact differently. And I could also see some of what we have been doing in our comprehensive distance plan being carried over into the classroom. So now the big difference there is obviously a teacher in the room to help them through that. But I think the big piece for us is, with the smaller classes, that is going to allow our teachers a little bit more opportunity to have some one-on-one time, to where obviously in a distance plan that is not an option, and with a class of 16, 18, or 20, that is not an option as well. So with a class size of 6 or 8, we are hoping that our teachers are going to have an opportunity to have some more one-on-one time. Would a face shield be allowed as an option versus a face mask? So the way that we outline that is a face covering, and yes, a face shield is an option. I think we just would have to share that we would encourage or prefer a face mask. But if a face covering is what your student needs, then we would make that work too. When are you planning on telling us what days the kids are going to go? So again, this kind of goes back to, we need to see how many kids plan to come back, and then we will actually be able to make that defining line. So what I am hoping for is that if, and I'm starting to smile because I know that this will be tough, but if we can have all of our responses taken care of by the end of day Wednesday, then we can start to finalize that list Thursday. And as soon as we have the list finalized, we will email that out. And the way that would look is we would not post it and let everybody know who's in which group. We would make that a specific call and or an email to say, you are in groups Tuesday and Thursday, or Wednesday and Friday. So I'm hoping that we can address that Friday, if not the first of next week. Is this the plan model for September? I get we're only in February, and by the time we get back to March, or for a whole year. But if this is the model now through the school year, it doesn't give our family much hope. So what I can say to that is I would anticipate that this is the model that we hold until obviously our metrics meet the ability to go back to a full day. With that being said, I think the positives include, the vaccination is out, hopefully more readily available over the course of the next few months. And I can also share that I believe as soon as the metrics allow us to go back to full in-person days, I think that we will do that. I don't know if that will be before June, but I would be shocked if next fall we are not in full return. Is there any effort via the state or otherwise into evaluating what the short and long-term psychological effects on the children will be with this in-person environment? I cannot share an answer to that. I have not heard of that. But I think the one thing that I'm going to try to hold my mindset to is that we that whether we as individual principals, we as teachers, we as an administrative team, we as the district office, we don't have a ton of say in what the guidance looks like. And so that push at a state level or a national level would be what we follow. And so there's not a lot of this that I would ever say leads to a great educational experience. However, I think bringing kids back is a step in the right direction, and it is better. And so I think just day to day as a staff and as a admin team, we're just trying to say what is the best option that we can offer now and safely. Can you please outline what a school day would look like from start to finish, K4 and 6 to 8, arrival, classroom setting, breaks, teaching style, written, or computer work? If I had that for you right now, I would have already shared it. I can tell you that we're working with our reopening team and talking about what a skeleton of a day could look like. I'll talk K4 first, and then I'll talk middle school as well. I think, or I should say, I don't think that it would be fair to me to share exactly what my take on the entire day looks like, but I can break down things as best I can. And my goal would be to get our parents a skeleton day by the middle to late next week. My goal was to have a draft in front of our teachers by Friday, and then go from there. So what I could see for our youngsters, for those K4 folks, whether you are dropped off by the bus, which would be in one location, to enter down by the gym, or whether you were dropped off in person by a parent or grandparent or a family member, you will enter the gates that are closer to the main building. Staff will be at both gates to kind of direct kiddos on where they need to go. As they enter the room, the first thing that each kid will do will be to either use hand sanitizer, or in most cases, we will have them wash their hands. Some of our classrooms do have sinks in them, so that'll be the first thing they do. They will at that time report to their space. Unfortunately, in some of our youngest classrooms, there were group tables where 4 or 5 kids would be at a group station to start with. That will not be there, so each student will have their own desk. I could see to start each day with a classroom engagement activity, like a homeroom, and then move into an academic segment of 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes before a break, and then come back for a classroom segment. The lunch situation has not been fully vetted out yet, but what we are looking at is basically treating our main building with the office and my office as one kind of location, or what we would call a cohort. And then our outdoor space or outdoor classrooms, at this time our 3-4 classrooms, would also be another cohort. And so we would try to not have those two groups cross paths. So we would limit the movement of the 3-4 classrooms into the main building and bathroom use, but we would also limit the K1-2s into the use of the bathroom outside. So we would separate things there. We would anticipate that those recess times and or lunch times, and potentially some other times where we would try to get those classes that are in the same cohort a chance to be together. Again, we are going to try to do our best to encourage social distancing in that time. But when the kids are out on recess, our goal is to have multiple classes of kids together. So again, if we look at the K1-2, if we had 8 students in each of those classes, 24 on recess is a pretty manageable group, and that would also allow our teachers to have a little bit of downtime to potentially prep for whatever's next in the day. So I think I'm trying to look at some of the other questions you talked about. Teaching style, written or computer work. Again, I shared this a little bit ago. I could foresee some of the style of learning that has been going on now be brought into the classroom, just because we know that is safe. Now, where we can safely involve our teachers specifically working with our kids or our kids working in groups, we would encourage that and hope that can happen. But also, like I'd said before, our typical day of a group of 6 in a rotation, sitting on the ground together with the same items will look different. We have started to look at things that we are going to order for each class to help not only incorporate some movement, but to allow our kids to potentially get out of their desks. So for example, we are looking for our youngest groups to have like their own mat at their desk, to where there might be a time to where they can potentially read at their own space, but will not be locked down to their chair for the entire day. We are looking to get some student shields. So if we have a couple kids that are at a oversized table, they could potentially be interacting with each other. They would obviously have their masks on still, and then also a plexiglass barrier between them. Again, I think it's important for me to reiterate that we aren't claiming this as best practice, but we are hoping that it is better than the distance plan. The letter indicated windows and doors would remain open for circulation. At what point would you decide to close those doors and windows to prevent the room becoming too cold for students to work? I don't think I'm going to put a temperature number on that. I think that we leave that up to the teacher and to myself. And I think the main reason that I wanted to put that in there is to kind of give folks the heads up that we would ask to send an extra coat and dress in layers, maybe an extra sweatshirt. There might be days to where that's not an issue at all. But we want to make sure that we're transparent and share with as much information as we have. And that has absolutely been discussed as a way to help with ventilation. Is a plan to still contact families on February 3rd to get our choice for students? Is there a different way you want to receive the information about online or hybrid? If a student needs transportation, how do we pass that on? So if you are on your computer or near your email, the email was just sent to you that is asking you for each student. You will choose hybrid with self-transportation, hybrid with district transportation, or remaining in the distance learning model. And then the last question on that survey asks for you to share any more comments, questions, or concerns. So again, you should have just received an email a parent square that has a survey attached to that. And again, in that survey, for those families that have multiple students, we need to make sure that each student is listed, and then there's an option chosen for each student. What sort of accommodations will be given to parents who have children that have had separation anxiety and would typically have to help their children to their classes for the first little while? This has absolutely been brought up. I think that it would not be fair for me to sit here and say that that's not going to be an issue. I think we all know that is going to be an issue. we are in a position to where we cannot allow visitors and or parents into the buildings. What I can tell you is with a mask on and with those things that I would welcome a parent to walk their student to the front gate where myself and or our staff will be there to greet them. And I think the other piece of that, and I'll get down to this in just a moment, is with the dates. That week of March 1st is set to be an orientation week. And at that time, we will encourage our families and students to come onto campus. We won't bring folks necessarily, or I should say, we won't bring visitors necessarily into classrooms, but we will encourage you to bring your students up to campus and make sure that they walk around with you to make sure that they feel like they are comfortable for the next week. The other thing that I can share with you 100% is that we know that that is not going to be enough. We know that going back to school or going to school for the first time for our youngest kids is going to be a huge hill to climb, right? And so I think it's important for you also to hear from me that we don't have an unreal expectation, and if that is a barrier, we continue to fight it each day. I don't think that there is a great answer from me on that. Although just know that we are aware of that and we've talked about that, and we hope that we can, through that week of March 1st, at least start that kind of growth towards being comfortable with that. What happens if there's a COVID case at school? Will school continue or will it be shut down? So if we have an exposure, it is basically going to be determined by our nurses kind of what the exposure is or how the exposure has presented itself at school. There is a very real possibility that if we do have a positive case and an exposure at school, that we would have to shut down any cohorts that were impacted by that. So once we get a positive case or a confirmation, basically myself and the nurses for the district, we kind of break down of how that exposure impacted the classes and who it did impact. And then potentially, yes, like let's say that it was an exposure and or a positive case in a Tuesday, Thursday group, we would potentially be, and this was say in the second grade classroom, we could potentially be closing down or moving the K1-2 cohort on Tuesdays and Thursdays back into a distance learning model until that quarantine time has passed. So that is a possibility. Can we request that you allow us some time to see the plan prior to you asking us to decide which option we choose? I'm unwilling to make a decision by Wednesday, not knowing what the school experience will be. Yes, I think if that is your determining factor, I would be more than happy to say, let's wait. I also think that this has never been done before. And so whether you want to say that's never been done by our state, this has never been done by our district, this has never been done by our school, by our teachers. And so for us to create the best environment we can, again, we have started that work, but we're not there yet. And again, I think it's important for you all to hear from me that the academic side to me falls a little bit lower on my priority list as opposed to that social emotional wellness of trying to get kids back to school and get back in the form of what the norms of a school day look like. And so I think if this is our first step back and it's not a fantastic step, I think that we need to be aware of that and we need to take that to heart and see what we can do to improve that. But also I think taking a first step needs to happen. We need to start to try to make those steps back, and we need to find a way to do it safely and consistently. How is the district or school planning on handling the change in teacher and or instructional model for kids who will be staying home? Meaning some of their classes are not using Edgenuity at all. How will a different teacher be able to continue the students' work? I think that's a great question, and I'm not even going to try to take a stab at that because we don't know how many students that is at this point. We don't know what grade levels that's going to impact. Yeah, so I think that will obviously be a case by case with the teacher. I think an impact will be what school did the teacher come from, what school did the student come from, what age is the student. I think there's a lot of variables that go into how we'll pick up the learning for that student. Again, I don't think that is best case scenario, but it's the option that we have to provide at this time. Why can't the kids at home just Google Meet into the classrooms and keep the teachers they have? So this was vetted out a little bit by our tech department and or the district office, and it's really said that we don't feel like that we could offer any kind of good option for a live teacher to also be offering anything to somebody at home at the same time. So whether you're talking about a mask and trying to talk into a computer, whether it's a computer at the front of the room and can see everybody, there were just too many concerns that felt like as a whole we could not offer anything that was valuable at that time. What I can tell you is that there have been discussions about what could it look like to have your student be in a hybrid and then on those off days be able to come in for the limited in-person instruction for additional support. That plan has obviously not been put into place completely, but that has been discussed. Is it possible some of the teacher changes you referred to would be changes between schools? So let me see if I can capture this and correct me if this is not it. So we have a teacher, say, that is at Silver Crest, and for whatever reason, Mark Twain needs another online teacher. Would that teacher potentially leave and go to Mark Twain? The only way I see that happening is if the numbers in the district dictated that. I don't believe that will be a first option, but I would also not share that there's no way possible that would happen, because if the numbers came back that the district needed to support more kids at a specific location in either option, a teacher would most definitely be pulled from somewhere. Again, this is not specific to Silver Crest or anything that we're offering, but a district-wide need. I think any need that is there, I think that we will do whatever we can to try to keep it in building. I think that moving teachers throughout the district would only happen if that was an absolute need. Thank you all for all the questions. I am going to try to jump back into the actual document. I think we talked a lot about what is in there, but I think it is important also to share these dates. So again, we have the town hall that is tonight. You did get an email or a Parent Square with a link to a survey that we were hoping to be completed by tomorrow. If there's a case by case, please feel free to contact me, and I think it was Mrs. Barnes, and share that I'm not in a position to make that call yet. And when I get an idea of what my specific day will look like, I would be happy to make the call at that time. If that's the case, feel free to shoot me an email on that. Our blueprint for reopening, which is more about procedures and safety precautions, that has nothing to do with the actual school day in terms of academic supports. That's more of the again, like the logistical piece of how we're going to be bringing kids on campus and how they'll move about the day and those things. That I will share with our district office on Friday. There is a district admin meeting tomorrow that I'm going to get more information from our nurses and facility staff that will help us complete that blueprint. So that will be shared with the district office on Friday. And then whatever potential updates or changes need to be made will be made. And then prior to March 1st, that will be posted on the district website. February 19th, the current limited in-person instruction that we have going on at the high school will be put on pause for our K-4 kids. And the reason for that is because currently we are using 3 of our classrooms for our K-4 students. And the week of the 22nd is a week that we are going to be trying to finish preparation for not only our teachers, but also the physical space of those classrooms. And so we will need to put a pause on those limited in-person meetings for that week of the 22nd. As I did say, there is discussion about what the limited instruction could look like on students' off days if and when we get back to that hybrid format. So, and that's what I had there for the 22nd through the 26th. And then we talked about this briefly. The week of March 1st through the 5th will be our orientation week. We haven't put together exactly what that will entail. I think on a broad spectrum, that looks like we want to bring kids in that feel like that they need to come in and see the room, see our staff. That's part of our plan over the course of the next couple of weeks to decide what that looks like. And then the week of March 8th, the 8th is a Monday, so we wouldn't have students on campus on the 8th, but students would then be coming into campus starting on Tuesday the 9th for the hybrid instruction. So that's the information that I had. I think I knocked out all of the questions in the chat bar as well. Is there other folks that would like to unmute and share questions or share them into the chat? I open the floor.
As a teacher, I just wanted to say how excited the staff is to have your kids back at school. We can hardly wait. There's lots of obstacles that it's easy to get kind of stuck on those, but we're going to do everything we can to teach your kids and make it fun. So please know that we're very committed to that.
Thank you, Mrs. Gunther. That was very, very well said. Again, when we talk about steps to get back in person, there are a lot of them. But I think any step that we are making towards trying to bring kids back in a safe environment is huge. And so I thank our staff for their work on this. I thank the parents for their hand in this. Again, I think all of the questions, yeah. Again, you should have received a survey. Whoever is listed on our Parent Square list should have received that survey. And if you did not, if your family did not receive that, feel free to contact the office and we will get that to you. We just got a question that came through. Will all the teachers be vaccinated? I think all the teachers that want to be vaccinated will be vaccinated. I'm sure as all of you know that it's a multiple shot process, and there's time that has to be between each dose, and then there's time after the second dose that has to be waited on as well. So I believe that all of our teachers and staff that want to be vaccinated will, but I can't say if they all will be, and I actually can't ask if they all will be. And so those I think that want to be are in the process, I guess I should say. We have a hand raised. Mrs. Johansson. It looks like the Johansson family has a hand raised. If you would like to unmute and ask a question, fantastic. If it was by accident, that is fantastic as well. So feel free. Any other staff like to comment on anything or raise a question or clarify?
Gosh, James, I'd just like to say, I know there was a couple questions about, what things will be like and having difficulties making decisions just yet, but I would just encourage anybody that still has questions to reach out to their child's teacher to ask them what they think school will be like, because it might be different from classroom to classroom. And I know that we're all happy to have that conversation with parents to put their minds at ease if we can, and let them know that it'll be a good, happy environment for their kids. So please feel free to just reach out to your teachers.
Thank you for that. That's great. Thank you, Johansson family. So that was longer than the 30 minutes, which is great. I am happy that you all came and asked plenty of questions. Those that we did not get to or I did not address specifically, I will work for answers on those. I can share with you that it has been asked from here on out to have weekly town halls. So we will continue to try to have these on Tuesday nights. So that will be the plan. As we get more information or as our guidance changes, we will obviously try to update as soon as we can. I do again want to say thank you for your guys' patience and grace. I don't think any of this is easy for anybody, whether that's our students, whether that's our parents, whether that's our staff. And we appreciate the patience, and we hope to be able to offer your students whatever they choose. The question that just popped up: will students be sent home if they keep refusing to wear their masks? That has not come up. I think that I would just ask for right now we start to coach kids up on if they want to be back in person at all, or the 2 days a week, or whatever that might lead to next. That one of the things that is a requirement for that is to have a mask on. I think if things went negatively and we got to a point to where there was refusal, I think that we would have to address that and share. I mean, there would be many conversations to be had with the parents and the students before that decision was made. But yes, I mean, we have pretty specific guidelines that we have to follow, and it's not so much that whether we choose to like them or not, it's that if we want to open, there are some things that we have to do, and that's one of them. Yeah. Anything else? again, I really appreciate your guys' time and engagement. I can tell you it's much better for me personally to be on these calls with this many folks with great questions, and I look forward to continuing these. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a great night, and we will see you guys soon.